Third Stage Consulting recently compiled an independent ranking of the top 10 ERP failures of all time, and there are a ton of lessons to be learned from these case studies. In fact, failures like these can teach us about the things that we shouldn't do, as well as the things that we should do. And in this video, we're going to unpack one of the highest profile failures to see what lessons we can all learn from this unfortunate transformation failure. Perhaps you've heard about this one, but you may not know what exactly went wrong. So let's now turn it over to Eric Kimberling, the CEO and founder of Third Stage Consulting, who will tell us more about this high-profile ERP failure.
It's Nike, the well-known consumer product company that many of you may buy from. And the company spent $400 million to upgrade their ERP systems recently. And that didn't go so well, obviously, or they wouldn't be on the list. But some of the business damages that resulted from the implementation were that the company had to take a loss of around $100 million, or they wrote off $100 million of that implementation. The stock price dropped by around 20%, according to one outlet that we reviewed in preparing for this. And the company had to invest another 5 years and another $400 million to get the project on track and to make the project successful. Now, from what we understand, again, outside looking in and what we see in the public forums, is it sounds like the project is back on track and they're getting value out of their ERP system. But the big question is, did they need to spend that much money? Was it worth the heartache? Could they have done it better? And could they have optimized the way that they went through the transformation? So what gives? Why did these projects fail? And more importantly, what can we do to avoid this type of disaster? Or more likely, how can we avoid a more moderate failure that we're not going to read about in the news, but still becomes painful for our organization? How can we navigate those pitfalls, and what is it we can do to avoid this type of failure? Well, first is to choose the right software. Make sure you've got the right technology supporting your business and that you're not choosing software and implementing software in a biased way. The second thing is to choose the right system integrator. Make sure you have the right partner or partners helping you implement. Just because it's a big name or a well-known name system integrator doesn't mean that you're immune to failure or that you won't get fired or that your project won't fail. Another thing to do is to remember that you are in charge of your project. This is your project. It's not the software vendors. It's not your system integrators. And you need to do what you need to do to make this project successful. If your system integrator isn't working out, course correct. Either give them clear direction on what you expect from them or fire them if you need to, bring in additional help, whatever it is you need. And also make sure that you're the one mitigating risks and identifying risks. System integrators generally aren't very good at mitigating risks and identifying where the risks are because they're the fox guarding the hen house, so to speak. So you need to have independent risk mitigation as part of this whole concept of making sure that you're in charge and you do what you need to do to make the project successful. The other thing to remember is that operational disruption is your biggest risk and potentially your biggest cost for the implementation. Too often companies will cut corners and step over dollars to pick up pennies. And what they'll do is they'll underinvest in things like organizational change management. They'll try to unreasonably compress the timeline and they'll cut the budget. And they'll do this all in the name of saving money and thinking that they're increasing ROI. But what they aren't looking at is what's going to happen on the other side when they go live and this materially affects their business. Generally, the companies that have operational disruptions find that that money lost and spent after go live is a lot more damaging than the money they could have spent to get it right in the first place early on in the implementation.